Have you ever wondered why that person who hurt you so much seems to be living well while you're still recovering? Why does the narcissist who destroyed your self-esteem appear to have everything under control while you struggle to rebuild your life? Wayne Dyer used to say that the universe has its own way of balancing things, and today you're going to discover exactly how that happens. What you're about to discover will completely change your perspective on divine justice. Because the truth is that God never lets anything slide. Every manipulation, every humiliation, every time they made you feel small, all of this is being recorded in a cosmic account that will one day be collected. But here's the part that will surprise you. This collection doesn't happen the way you imagine. It's not lightning striking from the sky or a sudden accident. It's much more subtle, much deeper, and infinitely more devastating for those who live by appearances. Wayne Dyer spent years studying how the universe responds to our actions, and what he discovered about narcissists will leave you speechless. These 7 ways reveal not only how divine justice operates, but why you never need to take revenge. The universe is already taking care of that for you. If you're ready to understand how the divine works in silence to balance things out, keep watching. What comes next will restore your faith in justice. Before we reveal the 7 ways, I need to tell you something that will change your perspective forever. That narcissist who seems to be on top of the world with their perfect social media posts, their incredible relationship, and their apparent prosperity, all of this is a carefully constructed illusion. Wayne Dyer always talked about the law of attraction, but there's another universal principle even more powerful, the law of compensation. It states that everything in life balances out, especially when it comes to emotional and spiritual energy. Think about it. When you were in that toxic relationship, you gave genuine love, real vulnerability, pure energy. What did you receive in return? Manipulation, contempt, vampiric energy that left you exhausted. This disproportion cannot exist indefinitely in the universe. What happens is that narcissists live on borrowed time. They take other people's vital energy, your joy, your peace, your self-esteem, and use it as fuel for their false grandeur. But stolen energy has an expiration date. It's like a house of cards built during a storm. The higher it goes, the more fragile it becomes. The more they need to maintain this perfect facade, the more energy they spend sustaining a lie. And guess where this energy comes from? From the people around them that they keep draining until completely exhausted. But here's the secret Wayne Dyer discovered. When you step away and stop feeding this system, something extraordinary happens. The narcissist begins to wither. Not immediately, not obviously, but like a plant that gradually loses its water sources. From now on, I'll show you exactly how God orchestrates this downfall. These are 7 specific ways, each more devastating than the last for those who live by ego and appearances. Oh, before I forget, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I'm curious to know where the people are who truly understand these deep truths about narcissism and divine justice. And if you're thinking the first way is about money or relationships, you're going to be surprised. The first way God humbles a narcissist is through spiritual isolation. And this is more devastating than any material punishment you can imagine. Wayne Dyer explained that we're all connected to a divine source of love, wisdom, and peace. It's this connection that gives us purpose, genuine joy, and the ability to truly love. But narcissists have voluntarily cut this connection. Think of it this way. Imagine your soul is a cell phone, and God is the transmission tower. Healthy people always maintain a strong signal, receiving guidance, love, and serenity. But narcissists have chosen to live in spiritual airplane mode. They do this because genuine connection requires humility, vulnerability, and recognition that there's something greater than them. And this is impossible for someone who sees themselves as the center of the universe. The result: they live in constant spiritual emptiness. That's why they need so much external validation, control over others, drama, and conflict. It's the only way they know how to feel alive, because they've cut off access to the real source of vitality. Have you ever noticed how narcissists never seem genuinely at peace? Even in their best moments, there's a restlessness, a constant need for more attention, more control, more proof of their importance. Meanwhile, people who have gone through the healing process after a narcissistic relationship often report an inner peace they never had before. They discover the spiritual connection the narcissist tried to cut from them. Wayne Dyer used to say that the greatest tragedy isn't losing material things, but losing connection with our divine essence. And that's exactly what happens with narcissists. They become spiritual orphans by their own choice. The irony is cruel. While trying to make themselves gods, they distance themselves further and further from the real divine. While demanding worship from others, they become incapable of experiencing the unconditional love that truly matters. And here's what's most impressive. They feel this emptiness, but are unable to identify the real cause. So they fill it with superficial things that never truly satisfy. But this is just the first way. The second is even more subtle and devastating for those who live by appearances. The second way God balances things is through the inevitable deterioration of all the narcissist's relationships. And this doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow and painful process that they orchestrate themselves. Wayne Dyer always emphasized that genuine relationships are based on give and take, on emotional reciprocity. But narcissists only know how to extract. They're bottomless wells that are never satisfied, regardless of how much you give. In the beginning, they manage to mask this vampiric nature with love bombing. They make you feel special, unique, the most important person in the world. But this is strategic, not genuine. It's the initial investment to guarantee a much larger return later. Over time, the mask inevitably falls. People close to them begin to notice the pattern. Everything always revolves around the narcissist. Their problems are always more important, their achievements always more significant, their feelings always more valid. What's interesting is that this happens with everyone around them, not just romantic partners. Children who grow up and recognize the toxicity, friends who get tired of being used as an audience, co-workers who notice the manipulation. It's like a law of emotional physics. Energy can only go in one direction for so long before the system collapses. Wayne Dyer said that the universe always seeks balance. When someone only takes without ever genuinely giving, eventually people stop offering. It's a self-preservation mechanism we all develop. The most painful part for the narcissist is that they can't understand why this happens. In their mind, they're misunderstood victims. Everyone around them is ungrateful and doesn't recognize how much they've sacrificed. They create elaborate narratives about how they were betrayed, abandoned, mistreated. But the truth is simple. They reaped exactly what they sowed. The most impressive thing is seeing how people who freed themselves from narcissists often flourish afterward. They recover their self-esteem, build healthy relationships, rediscover joy. It's as if all that energy that was being drained returned multiplied. Meanwhile, the narcissist becomes increasingly isolated, needing to find new sources of supply because the old ones have been depleted. But wait until you discover the third way. It directly hits what narcissists value most. The third way the universe balances things is through the gradual loss of the narcissist's beauty and vitality. And this goes far beyond natural aging. It's something much deeper and more visible. Wayne Dyer talked about how our inner energy manifests in our outer appearance. People who live with love, gratitude, and inner peace literally radiate a beauty that transcends physical features. Those who live consumed by anger, envy, and constant need for control, well, that also becomes evident. Narcissists are obsessed with appearance because it's one of their main manipulation tools. They use physical charm, superficial charisma, impeccable presentation to attract and control their victims. But there's a cosmic price to be paid for this excessive vanity. First, the constant negative energy they carry, the anger, resentment, compulsive need to diminish others. This toxicity literally manifests in their face. Have you ever noticed how very bitter people develop a permanently sour expression? With narcissists, it's even worse because they live in constant internal stress. They need to maintain multiple masks, control different narratives, manage impressions constantly. This mental and emotional effort takes its physical toll. Dyer used to say that lies weigh on the body, and narcissists live so many lies simultaneously to others and to themselves that this burden becomes visible. Additionally, as they age, they lose the superficial tools they use to manipulate. Physical beauty fades, charisma becomes forced and transparent, energy isn't the same anymore. And since they never develop genuine inner qualities, they become increasingly desperate. It's painful to observe, but extremely revealing. While people who did inner work age with grace and dignity, maintaining an authentic beauty that comes from within, narcissists become desperate caricatures of themselves. They resort to excessive cosmetic procedures, age-inappropriate behaviors, pathetic attempts to reclaim youth. But nothing works because the problem isn't external. It's the absence of inner light. The contrast becomes even more evident when you observe people who left narcissistic relationships and healed. They literally flourish, recover the sparkle in their eyes, the lightness in their smile, the vitality that had been drained. It's as if all that stolen energy returned to its original source, while the thief slowly withers away. But prepare for the fourth way. It hits what narcissists consider most sacred. The fourth way God humbles narcissists is through the inevitable collapse of their reputation. And this doesn't happen through dramatic exposure. It's much more subtle and devastating. Dyer always talked about how truth has a peculiar way of emerging naturally, without forcing anything. It's like water that always finds its way, no matter how small the crack. Narcissists build their public identity like a carefully planned work of art. Every social media post, every conversation, every interaction is calculated to maintain a specific image. They present themselves as courageous victims, inspiring leaders, people of integrity who always do the right thing. But here's the problem. Sustaining a constant lie requires perfect energy and memory. And narcissists, however intelligent they may be, eventually make mistakes. The versions don't match, details change, contradictions appear. Even worse, as they mistreat more people throughout their lives, they create a growing network of individuals who know their true nature. Ex-partners, adult children, former friends, co-workers, all carry pieces of the truth. Dyer said that lies are like snowballs rolling downhill. They start small, but accumulate weight and speed until they become an uncontrollable avalanche. What's most interesting is how this happens organically. People don't need to organize to expose the narcissist. They simply begin sharing their experiences naturally. A conversation here, a confession there, a confirmation of something that seemed strange. Slowly, a pattern emerges. People realize they weren't the only ones to experience certain situations, that those flimsy excuses were used with others too. That initial charm had the same script for everyone. And then something devastating happens for those who live by appearances. People begin to see through the mask. The charisma no longer works because it lost the element of surprise. The manipulations become predictable and even pathetic. The irony is cruel. The more the narcissist tries to control their public image, the more obvious it becomes that something is being hidden. Genuinely authentic people don't need to make so much effort to seem good. They simply are. The collapse of reputation is especially painful for narcissists because reputation is everything to them. It's where they extract validation, power, resources. When this source dries up, they become desperate. And then they begin making even bigger mistakes, trying to regain control of the narrative. But it's already too late. Truth has already taken root in people's perception. But wait until you discover the fifth way. It hits something narcissists don't even know they've lost. The fifth way the universe balances things is perhaps the cruelest of all. Narcissists completely lose the ability to experience genuine joy, even when they achieve everything they thought they wanted. Wayne Dyer explained that true joy comes from connection with ourselves, with others, with something greater than us. But narcissists cut all these bridges in the name of control and superiority. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a narcissist genuinely happy? Not euphoric for having achieved something or beaten someone, but simply at peace, radiating inner contentment. They may have the perfect house, the enviable relationship on social media, the successful career, public recognition, but there's an existential void that no external achievement can fill. It's like trying to quench thirst with salt water. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. Wayne Dyer used to say that joy is our natural condition when we're aligned with our authentic self. But narcissists abandoned their essence so long ago, they don't even remember what it's like. They became addicted to the adrenaline of drama, the dopamine of external validation, the sensation of power over others. But these are emotional drugs that create tolerance. They need increasingly larger doses for the same effect. Meanwhile, simple things that bring real joy, a sunset, a genuine conversation, a moment of gratitude, a child's laughter, go completely unnoticed by them. It's tragically ironic. In the obsessive pursuit of happiness through control and admiration, they became incapable of recognizing happiness when it appears. This becomes even more evident when you compare with people who healed from narcissistic relationships. They often report a rediscovery of the ability to find joy in small things, a deep gratitude for simple moments. It's as if, after living in black and white for so long, they rediscovered colors. The narcissist, on the other hand, remains trapped in an infinite race after something that always seems to be in the next goal, the next achievement, the next relationship. Wayne Dyer said that the greatest punishment isn't active suffering, but the inability to experience the blessings that life constantly offers. And that's exactly what happens with narcissists. They live surrounded by opportunities for joy, but blind to all of them. The energy they waste trying to impress others, control narratives and maintain facades could be used to experience life fully. But they chose another path, and this choice takes its toll in ways they don't even realize. The sixth way God humbles narcissists is through the progressive isolation they create themselves, person by person, relationship by relationship. Wayne Dyer always emphasized that we are social beings by nature. We need genuine connection to thrive emotionally. But narcissists turn every relationship into a transaction, every person into a tool. The process begins subtly. At first, they manage to maintain various facades simultaneously. They're the perfect partner, the dedicated parent, the loyal friend, the exemplary professional. But maintaining multiple masks is exhausting, and eventually some begin to slip. The first category to notice are usually the closest people: spouses, children, intimate family members. They experience the true character behind the public mask and begin to distance themselves emotionally, even if they're still physically present. Then come longtime friends. Relationships that seemed solid begin to wear down as the behavior pattern becomes obvious. Everything always revolves around the narcissist. Their problems are always more important. Their victories always need to be celebrated with more intensity. Wayne Dyer said that relationships are like gardens. They need mutual care to flourish, but narcissists only know how to harvest, never plant or water. What's interesting is that they don't notice the pattern until it's too late. Each distancing is rationalized. They envied me. They couldn't handle my success. They were toxic people anyway. But there comes a moment when even new people begin to keep their distance quickly. Reputation precedes them, or their toxicity has become so evident they can no longer hide it even in first meetings. What's most painful is that as they age, the need for genuine connection only increases. But by then, they've burned so many bridges that they're trapped in a vicious cycle. The more isolated they become, the more bitter they get. The more bitter, the more people they push away. It's like watching someone die of thirst while poisoning all the wells around them. Wayne Dyer used to say that chosen solitude can be a blessing, but isolation forced by one's own actions is one of the most devastating experiences that exist. And narcissists inevitably reach this point, not through bad luck or others' misunderstanding, but as a direct consequence of decades of treating people like disposable objects. The final irony is that they always talked about independence, about not needing anyone, about being superior to the weak who need relationships. But in the end, they discover that human connection isn't weakness, it's basic necessity. And when they finally recognize this, it's already too late. People have moved on. The seventh and most devastating way God humbles narcissists is by forcing them to confront their own mortality, something they spent their entire lives trying to deny. Wayne Dyer talked about how death awareness can be liberating when accepted with wisdom, but terrifying when you've built your entire identity around the illusion of being special, superior, and indestructible. Narcissists live as if they were immortal. They make grandiose plans, accumulate power and possessions, build ego empires as if they would last forever. The idea that all of this is temporary is unbearable to them. But time doesn't negotiate with anyone. And as age advances, inevitable signs appear. Energy diminishes, appearance changes, health becomes more fragile. For someone obsessed with control and perfection, this is devastating. Even worse, they realize that all that time wasted manipulating, controlling, and competing could have been used building something real. Genuine relationships, meaningful legacies, inner peace. Wayne Dyer always said that wise people use mortality awareness to prioritize what truly matters. But narcissists spent decades prioritizing what's superficial and temporary. It's at this moment that the cosmic bill is presented in its totality. They take stock of their lives and realize that despite all the strategy and manipulation, they're leaving empty-handed. They don't have children who genuinely love them, only those who tolerate or completely avoid them. They don't have true friends, only acquaintances, or people who haven't yet discovered their true nature. They don't have partners who love them for who they are, because they never showed who they really are. The cruelest part is that in this moment of maximum vulnerability, when they most need support and genuine connection, they're completely alone. All bridges have been burned, all relationships have been turned into transactions. And then comes the most terrifying realization of all, that they spent an entire lifetime chasing something that could never be achieved through the methods they chose. That all that energy spent trying to prove superiority was actually evidence of a deep insecurity that was never healed. Wayne Dyer said that death can be life's greatest teacher, but only for those willing to learn its lessons. For narcissists, it's just the inevitable end of a performance that no one else is watching anymore. And it's in this existential solitude that they finally understand the real price of a life lived without authenticity, without genuine connection, without true love. Divine justice doesn't need to be dramatic to be complete. After knowing these 7 ways the universe balances things, you understand why you never needed to take revenge. Divine justice operates at a much deeper and more lasting level than anything we could do. Wayne Dyer always emphasized that our only responsibility is our own healing and evolution. When you free yourself from a narcissist's toxic orbit, you're not just saving your life, you're allowing cosmic justice to operate naturally. Every day you live in peace, build healthy relationships, and experience genuine joy is a victory over everything they tried to steal from you. Your recovery is your revenge because it demonstrates they couldn't destroy your essence. Meanwhile, the narcissist who tried to control you is trapped in a cycle of deterioration they feed themselves. Without access to your vital energy, without your validation, without your unconditional love, they begin to wither spiritually. The final irony is that your freedom punishes them more than your presence could ever reward them. Because when you stop being the audience for their performance, the performance loses meaning. Wayne Dyer used to say that people who hurt us are our greatest teachers because they force us to discover our inner strength. Looking from this perspective, you can even thank that painful experience for being the catalyst of your transformation. Today you understand manipulation patterns that previously went unnoticed. You developed boundaries that protect your energy. You learned to value authenticity over appearances. You discovered you deserve unconditional love, not transactional. These lessons are treasures no one can steal from you. And the best part is that as you heal and evolve, you naturally attract equally evolved people into your life. So instead of wondering, when will that person pay for what they did to me, celebrate your own transformation. Focus on the extraordinary life you're building away from that toxicity. Because in the end, the greatest victory isn't seeing the narcissist suffer, it's you flourishing. Divine justice is perfect. You receive peace, love, and growth. They remain trapped in the prison they built for themselves. And that, my friends, is the most powerful way God balances all things.